Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Breakdown presented by 9NINE2. Now, today we're going to be going over 3 battles that we had over at the Gauntlet at Formula Drift, New Jersey. The 3 battles that we're going to be going over is Dimitri Bruski against Cole Richards. Then we're going to be going with Nate Chen against Cole Richards, so 2 prospects battles. And then we're going to end it with the last battle that we had in pro, which was Adam LZ against Frederick Osbo. Now, before we get into all that, what I want to go over is the track map that we have in front of us here. Now, this is a track map that we have for the Gauntlet route over in New Jersey. I want to kind of go over a little bit quick so you can kind of have an idea of what we're looking at and what we're looking for. You can see here that this is the start. They're going to be coming down. There's going to be the 3-2-1 cones. There's a little bit of a decel in here. Get to angled. You can see outside zone 1. All right, they're going to be going through outside zone 1, going into a transition. There's a little bit of a decel after the transition. So after the transition is complete, they're allowed to have a little bit of a decel over momentum variance. They get into the zone. The zone is a little bit earlier than it was in years past. So we did start a little bit earlier. So this way they get to angle, get lined up right into that outside zone, and they fire off going all the way through. Now, we did say in the driver's meeting that once they get into the zone, we expect them to be on throttle. If they aren't on throttle and then someone comes in and there's like a mess up or something like that, or a mix up or, a complication, there's a high chance that it's going to be put on the lead driver. Now, in any case, they come through here, fire off in the zone and outside zone 2, on throttle all the way through, come out of the zone. There's going to be inner clip now, just like you've seen throughout the other rounds. The inner clip has an inner clip box. Now, that inner clip box is for the front trailing wheel. All right, and the reason it's not the front wheel is because it's really easy for you to take shallow angle going to that inner clip box. If you have the trailing wheel, it actually promotes having angle going through that box, and it leaves the pocket open for the chase driver, which is what we're asking for. So you leave the pocket open, make sure you get the trailing front wheel into the box. After that, you have a nice smooth transition. There's a little bit of a variance here, and then boom, they fire off again all the way through the end of outside zone 3. So we have 3 zones here with an inner clip. I want to show you what the inner clip box would look like. I'm going to bring it over so we can see it there. That is the inner clip box that we have painted on. So the trailing wheel would come through, trailing front wheel will come through, get into that box. And as long as they have that, we wanted them to go through the center. We did black it out when we actually went into competition, but we want to go right through the center of the box there. And doing that would be efficiently get into the inner clip box, and you can see it leaves the pocket open for the chase driver. All right, now going into our first battle, we're going to be reviewing Dimitri Bruski against Cole Richards. This was in pro spec. The winner of this battle was going to go into the finals against Chen. Now, the reason we're going to be going over this battle is because I ended up going one more time, and the other judges, Vernon and Brian Eggert, ended up going with Cole Richards. So I just want to give you a little perspective on how I saw it. Why I ended up going one more time, and I'm going to give you a little feedback on why I think the judges went the way they did, which was going with Cole Richards. So we're going to start off the battle here.
Be a little more of that kind of cherry
All right, so we're going to start off the battle here. Dimitri is in the lead. Cole Richards is in the chase. Here's the initiation. You can see they're going into outside zone 1. Good from this angle here. Good transition going into outside zone 2. Cole doing a good job in the chase, staying right there where he needs to be. Looking really good. Oh, coming up to the inner clip. You can see here from this angle, Dimitri's just a little bit on the inside of inner clip 1. Yeah, a little wobbly at the end there. See the replay. All right. You can see here, Dimitri does a good job in outside zone 1. Here comes the transition, getting into outside zone 2. You can see outside zone 2 is a little bit shallow there, and outside zone 2, Cole goes into the pocket there as well too. Dimitri does a good job creating a little bit of a distance there, catches back up. You can see a little bit on the inside there, Cole on the inside as well too. Dimitri gets into outside zone 3, all the way to the end. All right, now we're going to switch around. We have Cole Richards in the lead, and we have Dimitri's in chase. All right, so this is the second half of the battle. Oh, Cole coming in, going into outside zone 1. Looks a little bit deeper there. Goes into the transition, going into outside zone 2. Dimitri, you can see, he's a little bit on the inside there. Cole getting through, gets into the pocket again. Pours on the angle a little bit there, and Cole Richards heavy on the inside there. Transition goes into outside zone 3. Dimitri a little bit on the inside, a little aggressive. Goes over the finish line there. All right, so definitely some things there. We're going to see if we can look in the replay.
Definitely done in our zone 3 here.
All right, good job in outside zone 3. Dimitri does a good job there. Kind of see the transition maybe was miscalculated there. Due to that, brings him up on the inside. Cole gets in there. Would like to see him a little bit deeper. Dimitri, because of that miscalculation on the transition, you can see it's put him in a spot that's not so favorable. So he's definitely on the inside there. Starts working his way back into the pocket. Cole definitely getting deep in there. Dimitri back in the pocket. Cole heavy on the inside. He was wavering a little bit there. Takes out the inner, so he's heavy on the inside there. Probably more on the inside than Dimitri was. Going into outside zone 3. Lights off. Dimitri miscalculates that a little bit. Wobbles around.
So that transition, you just had it timed just a little bit too early.
There you go. Outside zone 1. Transition. Outside zone 2. You can see there. Heavy cut inside by Dimitri. Wobbling around a little bit. Heavy on the inside. Cole.
That's the only big mistake I feel like he had.
Going into outside zone 3.
So he was a little on the inside, kind of doing a beeline where Bruski timed that a little bad, got in front of the car, made contact. I feel like that was on him independently.
I think Bruski might have gotten a little eager there.
Yeah, which is.
I mean, because Excel lights green. They're all green.
Right.
Notably on Cole Richards. So taking a look at that, Excel was on. Didn't seem like decel or brake lights. So let's.
All right, so now we're going to go into the breakdown. I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback on how I kind of saw this battle. Now, going into outside zone 1. All right, so we're going to go right into that.
Yeah, you can see the difference in the style here.
All right, so we're going to go into now. For me, for outside zone 1, Dimitri does a good job of filling outside zone 1, and he's deep into the zone in the lead. Now, Cole Richards, he also does a really good job in outside zone 1, and he fills the zone as well too. So they both do a good job of filling outside zone 1. Definitely give them that. Now, Dimitri matches line angle and has proximity when he's in the chase. Cole Richards matches line and angle, but lacks a little bit of proximity in comparison to Dimitri in outside zone 1. So let's see if we can go into it a little bit here.
Bruski does a little flick, but I feel like.
So we can see there on outside zone 1, Dimitri doing a good job getting really close, gets deep into outside zone 1. Cole Richardson kind of calculating, still a little bit kind of on the inside a little bit. And, the proximity just isn't there. Now we go over to Dimitri. Dimitri has a good job, gets into proximity. Cole's doing a good job in outside zone 1 as well. Go a little bit further. Dimitri has good proximity, match and line, match and angle. Cole just doesn't have the proximity really that we're looking for. Cole does a really good job in the lead, though, like we said. But in the chase, you can see the one difference there is the proximity factor. Line was good. Angle was doing a really good job of that, too. So in outside zone 1, I actually give the advantage to Dimitri. All right. Now going into outside zone 2, we're going to look at the transition here. Now, I did say before when we were going through, I saw how the transition was heavy on the inside. Now, these are one of the key points where I can understand maybe the judges, Brian Egger and Vernon, looked at this and was a heavy deduction on there, which I totally can see. I marked it as an error as well, too. But again, this is something where we have 3 people that look at what's happened, all the events in the battle, and they make their judgment call on it. Now, going into outside zone 2, I have Dimitri's outside zone 2 in the lead. Dimitri enters outside zone 2 correctly, but starts to shallow up in outside zone 2 for the remainder of it. So he gets in there, but he's a little bit just on the inside, and you can see he just shallows up as we're going through outside zone 2. Now, Cole Richards in the lead enters outside zone 2 a little shallow, but progressively gets deeper as he drifts throughout the zone. So I definitely see that as well too. We're gonna pay close attention to that as we're watching the replay there. Now in the chase, Cole Richards has good proximity in the beginning of the zone, but loses proximity as he progresses through the zone in the chase position. Also something else that we're gonna pay attention and looking into outside zone 2. Now Dimitri in the chase miscalculates the transition and ends up on the inside line, not matching the liner angle. And as we progressively go through the zone, Dimitri does position himself better in the pocket and establishes proximity. So it's almost like it kind of cancels a little bit out there in some aspects.
Both doing a great job here, Cole.
Good transition. We can see Dimitri Bruski does a really good job of lining himself up into the zone. Cole Richards was just a little bit on the shallower line. When I mean shallower, is like not as deep into the zone in the beginning. All right, just making a notation of it. Now you can see Cole's doing a really good job of getting into the pocket, matching the line, put himself in really good position. Dimitri, due to that transition, puts himself a little bit harder of a spot on the inside, not really where you want to be. And as you progressively go through the zone, it's just going to be amplified. As you can see here, Cole definitely looks like where he needs to be inside of the pocket. Dimitri is struggling a little bit, looks a little shallow line, has to do everything he needs to do to start managing his way through. Now, here we can see Cole did a really good job in the beginning with proximity, like we said. As we're going through, Cole also in the lead, you can see he was a little shallow, but gets deeper into the zone. Dimitri does get the proximity now, but he also definitely cut outside zone 2 in the beginning a good bit in order to get to that. Cole had that proximity. Dimitri's getting a little bit deeper as we're starting. Well, excuse me, starts to get a little shallow up, but he definitely establishes space between Cole Richards and himself. We enter here. You can see Dimitri shallowing up just a little bit there, coming through, angles up again. Coming through, we're going into the inner clip. All right. Now, for outside zone 2, before we get to the inner clip, I ended up giving it to Cole Richards to have the advantage, specifically also basically because of the miscalculation that Dimitri had cutting out such a big portion of outside zone 2. So I definitely give the advantage of outside zone 2 to Cole Richards. So outside zone 1 for my behalf, I'm looking at Dimitri Bruski. Outside zone 2, I'm giving it to Cole Richards. So far, we're neck and neck. Now, going into the inner clip. Dimitri has less angle, but definitely doesn't hit the inner clip, so he's slightly on the inside. Clear indicator there. Cole Richards has more angle, but is heavy on the inside. Here's the line, and knocks the clip out. So Cole Richards is definitely a lot closer in on the inside of inner clip. And we're talking like inches here that these guys are dealing with, but there is a difference. Cole Richards was a little bit more on the inside, but had more angle. Dimitri was closer to the mark, even though he didn't hit the mark. He was closer to it in comparison, but he had less angle. In the lead, in the chase, both drivers did a really good job in the chase, positioned themselves as well. They were matching line and angle in comparison to what they were dealing with in the chase and what the lead driver was doing. In the inner clip, I actually have it as a draw. So outside zone 1, Dimitri. Outside zone 2, Cole Richards. Inner clip, I have him as a draw. Now, going into outside zone 3, Dimitri fills outside zone 3 and is deep in the zone. Cole Richards fills outside zone 3 and is deep in the zone in the lead. So both of them do a good job in the lead, filling out the zone deep. Cole Richards has good proximity, but drops a tire in outside zone 3 from my point of view. And Dimitri has good proximity, gets a little aggressive, bumps Cole Richards, disrupts his lead line.
They both, Cole also taking it.
So we're going in. Dimitri, good job on the proximity here. Cole going a little bit of space, going to reel him in. Good job getting into outside zone 3 by Dimitri. Is actually a little bit deeper than Cole Richards, who's a little bit more on the shallower side. Dimitri does do a miscalculation here where he comes heavy on the inside. Cole does a good job of getting on throttle from my point of view. Cole in the chase, you can see is a little bit shallower coming through here. That's where we see the aggressive, a little bit lack of angle. I kind of feel like that kind of maybe disrupts his line, brings him in on the inside, and comes out.
Tiny mistake in that chase.
Come back a little bit here.
Cole also
transition again.
As far as the inner clip goes, but you can see it.
And you see it in real time. That's why sometimes I like to let it run a little bit in real time so you can see the effect here. The miscalculation by Dimitri comes in, gets on throttle, a little bit of a bump, throws Cole Richards off in the lead. So that's where my part comes in and disrupting his lead there. Now, because of that, and I feel like they both had good leads, despite the little bump, I have them both as a draw there as well too. So both at the draw and outside zone 3. I have them have a draw at the inner clip. I have Cole Richards in outside zone 2, and I have an outside zone 1, Dimitri Bruski. So that puts me at a draw right there. I feel like there was equally enough mistakes there, depending on what was happening in comparison, in order for there to be a one more time. So I ended up going one more time. I totally can see where the judges are coming from when it comes to that. I'll even go back a little bit here. We're going into the battle. All right, so I can see coming in, like I said, I feel like I'm going to give it to Dimitri there. Going into this transition, though, this is a heavy cut, and I can definitely see how this huge, massive cut that was going on here. The judges probably weighted a lot harsher on Dimitri in order to do that, the wavering. So I can definitely see that. I saw enough. I feel like there was just enough there, especially going into the rest of the issues, what was going on, especially the inner clip. You know, I feel like if you're going on the inner clip and you come way too much on the inside, that really disrupts the line as well too. Dimitri did a good job of doing that. Could have played a role in his position going into outside zone 3. We can speculate, you know what I mean? But you need to be where the judges tell you to be in order to get the undoubtable call and stuff like that. But here we did have some errors. And then when you put them all into comparison, you know, I just kind of feel like it was smack dab in the middle. So we're going to speed it up here so we can see officially.
Yeah, first ever podium for him. Slide him left for Bruski, right.
Now you can see I ended up going one more time. Brian Egger ended up going to Cole Richards, and Marin ended up going to Cole Richards as well too. So really good battle. Definitely wanted to show Prospect some love. I ended up liking the battle a lot. I think it was really good. The love has been really amplified in Prospect, and it's looking really good out there. That being said, with Prospect, Cole Richards moves on to the next battle, which brings us to the next battle that we're going to be reviewing, which is Nate Chen and Cole Richards. Now, this is the finals for Prospect. Now, the first battle we're going to see, now we have Nate Chen in the lead. We have Cole Richards in the chase. Really good driving from these guys. Cool to see different chassis out there. You can see probably in the replay here, you're going to hear Sopa say that as well. It's just cool to see two similar chassis out there kind of duking it out. Going into outside zone 1, you see Nate Chen goes into outside 1, has a little bit of wavering in outside zone 1, gets really good into outside zone 3. Cole Richards really right there, just giving him some pressure, a little bit shallow there from this angle, going into outside zone, into the inner clip. Does a good job there. A little wavering there. You can see Chen does come out of outside zone 3 a little bit early. Doesn't seem like there was any issue there with Cole, but we're going to watch the replay from a higher point of view to get a better idea here. So let's see this review. All right. You can see Chen does a good job. That's a good entry. I like this dude. This dude rips. Like, now, goes in good. You can see how he wavers out, though? Like, it just kind of, you know, and like, you know, as Cole coming in, he's like, yo, why is he straightening up? In any case, Cole does a really great job there. Staying in the pocket, glides right into it, isn't affected by what he's saying. He's like, I'm along for the ride, man. Like, I'm here for it. Transition, you can see Chen doesn't get as deep as we'd like him to get. You can see he kind of has one tire out, massages his way back in. Cole just giving him the pressure, giving him the beans. And looks like Chen gets into inner clip 1. Good job. Outside zone 3, Cole a little late there up, but then you have Nate Chen comes out of outside zone 3. Early. All right. Nate Chen Cole Richards comes out, good into outside zone. You can see no wavering there. Goes into outside zone 2. Right deep into outside zone 2. Chen putting on the pressure there, you can see. Cole adjusting, going into the inner clip. It's a little bit on the inside there from what I see. Good job, stays into the zone. Now you can see Cole Richards is a little shallow into that zone, isn't as deep, but he stays in the zone. That's the difference there. He stays in the zone. He doesn't exit the zone. Now, obviously, what we're looking for is you just stay deep in the zone, but he exits. Chen exits the zone on outside zone 3. Cole stays in the zone. See the replay here. Cole does a really good job. That's a good initiation. Very momentum driven, like that. Stays on throttle. A little bit of adjustment there. A good job on Chen. Is right where he needs to be there. I like that. Transition comes through. See midline there. Starts to get deep. Chen doing a good job. Not taking anything away from him there. And the ear clip. They're kind of same on that. Transition comes through. Now you can see he's a little, again, he's not as deep as I like him to be, but he stays in the zone. Doesn't leave the zone early. All right, so let's kind of break this thing down a little bit. Let me go back to the replay here that we have of Chen going out. All right, so this is going into the first half of the battle here, going into outside zone 1. Chen's going to be in the lead here. Now, Chen in the lead gets into outside zone 1, but loses a little bit of angle, and there's a little bit of a decel because of it, just kind of loses out a little bit. And Cole Richards in the chase matches line, matches angle, and has good proximity. And the decel from the lead driver really didn't have an effect on him. We're going to see it go through here. See a little bit there, goes through. All right. Now going into outside zone 2. Chen gets into outside zone 2, but is not as deep. Decels momentarily in the beginning of the zone. Cole Richards matches the line, matches angle, has good proximity, and at the decel from the lead driver didn't have an effect on him at all in there as well too. So we can go through here.
At that point, or any point in his lead run, as Richards is right there with him in the outer zone 2. Both
These actually helped him. He kind of took that opportunity since there was a little bit of a change in the momentum. You can see Cole took advantage of that and said, oh, you're going to slow down a little bit? Let me get right into the pocket. Get better proximity. Now going into the inner clip, Chen does a good job of leaving the pocket open for on the approach, but is on the line of the box and not at the center and a little bit too on the inside.
See kind of a two chassis, two different.
Right, and then we have Cole Richards matches line, matches angle, and has good proximity. She does there. Going into outside zone 3, Chen has outside zone, gets into outside zone 3, but ends up leaving the zone substantially early. And Cole Richards in the chase miscalculates a little bit on the transition, but ends up getting back into the pocket, but then gets disrupted due to the lead driver leaving the zone a little bit early. Comes in, you can see there, because Chen gets on throttle and starts to exit early, kind of messes up the line of Cole Richards. Like, he was planning to stay on that zone as long as he was going to stay where he needed to be, because he clearly leaves that zone early. Now, when we flip it around and going around, giving you some notes from Cole being in the lead now. Cole Richards gets into outside zone 1, has better angle, has more fluid, is more fluid in comparison when he's in the lead there. And Chen matches line, matches angle, and has good proximity. So we can see here, Cole Richardson does a really good job. Doesn't have that bobble that we saw that Chen has, just very more fluid, gets in there deep. And Chen does a really good job in the chase, exactly what he needs to do. But in that area of outside zone 1, I ended up giving the advantage to Cole Richards in the battle. Now going into outside zone 2, with Cole Richards being in the lead, going into outside zone 2, Cole Richards gets into outside zone 2, deeper in the zone in comparison to Chen. Chen matches line, matches angle, proximity, but is lacking a little bit of angle, actually. He's matching line, has good proximity, but is lacking some angle. So he wasn't matching angle there. My notes say matching line, has good proximity, but he's lacking a little bit of angle coming through. Definitely can see that going through here.
He does sacrifice, I feel like, more angle.
Yep, seen as well too. So in outside zone 2, I ended up giving the advantage in the battle to Cole Richards. So that's 2 areas for Cole Richards going into the inner clip. Cole Richards does a good job of leaving the pocket open on the approach, but is on the line of the box and not the center, and a little too on the inside as well. Chen matches the line, matches angle, and has good proximity. So both of them do the same thing from my point of view, from my judgment call in the inner clip, and that is actually a draw in my notes in this battle here. So in this area here, now going into outside zone 3 with Cole Richards in the lead, Cole Richards gets into outside zone 3, ends up getting into the zone a little shallow, but then stays into the zone the whole way through. Better in comparison because he stays into the zone and does not leave early. Now, leaving early ended up disrupting the chase driver. Cole doesn't do any of that. He's not disrupting the chase driver. He's not as deep as we would like him to be, but in comparison to what Chen did, he did a better job. Chen matches the line, matches angle, and has good proximity in that area of the battle. In comparison to everything, I give it to Cole Richards. So that's Cole Richards for outside zone 1, outside zone 2, tied and drawed in inner clip 1, and then in outside zone 3, I give it to Cole Richards as well too. Going to the results, obviously Cole Richards gets the win going in there. And the judges definitely saw it the same way too. I mean, this was just one of those battles where definitely you can see, oh, could there have been an issue? How were things being looked at? But it's a really good job of just like Cole Richards definitely putting on a really good lead, doing everything he needed to do, and allowing Nate Chen to try to put on a good chase as well too, to try to disrupt him. But it was just a good battle. It was just one of those things where I'm like, you know what, these guys are doing really good out here. I want to review the battle. I think it was a really good, especially two chassis, two guys that are up and coming, doing what they need to be doing. And you can just see it just takes one little error in order to really amplify things. And like I would say in this battle, and when I was speaking with the judges, the biggest error that we had here was unfortunately Nate Chen leaving outside zone 3 early. And Cole Richards definitely has an error. He wasn't as deep as we wanted to, but again, in comparison, that was a huge mistake, leaving outside zone 3 early. It affected Cole Richards in the chase. So it was a compound error that was going on there. So it just goes to show you at this level, even for Pro Spec, you know, one of these errors possibly could be the thing that really sticks out the most. And I always like to say it's usually never just one error. It's definitely everything put together in one. And this is still the same in this one, but this little extra error here is what ended up getting him. Cole Richards definitely had some errors as well, but when it just comes down to it, man, it just something just takes you out, you know what I mean? But it was a good job by all the guys here on Pro Spec. Now, moving on, and just so everybody knows, Cole Richards ended up getting first, Chen ended up getting second, and Dimitri ended up getting third in this one. So, moving on to the pro battle. The pro battle that is Adam LZ and Frederick Osbo. Now, everybody's talking about the initiation, and again, this was another one that's pretty cut and clear, just like the last one. And I'm just happy that, you know, we're having these, you know, that's 2 events now. Things are going pretty smooth, and the battles are looking good, and the drivers are just doing an amazing job out there, and it makes it really hard to see which one we're going to break down and stuff like that, you know. But I think this was a really good one because everybody was talking about the entry, and it was impressive and it was great. But I want to go over it because, man, it could have went pretty south, pretty fast for the guy that won. So let's just look at it real quick and just kind of see, again, at this level, it's just those little things that, you know, it could just be, if it goes one way or the other, it could change everything. And I think this is one of those battles where we're going to see that. All right, Osbo's in the lead, takes off. The initiation comes in, gets into outside zone 1. Up, and we can see there, Adam LZ definitely drops a tire going into outside zone 2. Osbo doing a really good job staying into outside zone 2. LZ doing a good job staying in the chase, going into the inner clip. You can see a little bit on the inside for Frederick, and you can see here, Frederick does a good job in outside zone 3, and Adam just right there, close, putting on the pressure.
What an initiation and an entry there by Freddie. LZ overcooked it just a little bit. Let's get that overhead. I don't think Freddie...
Now we're going to see the replay. I want to give you a little bit of info while we're watching the replay, because these were both the finals, so like the whole replay sequence was a little bit different than the other ones. So let me just go into this one for outside zone 1 and what we're seeing here. Now in outside zone 1, Frederick Osbo gets into outside zone 1 and is deep into outside zone 1. So it's really good there. LZ in the chase matches the line, matches angle, good proximity. But toward the end of the zone, LZ drops a tire. All right. So comes in. LZ drops a tire. That's what happens there in outside zone 1 while Frederick is in the lead. Now, going into outside zone 2, Frederick Osbo gets into outside zone 2, but is consistently shallow in the zone toward the end. Looks like he exits outside zone 2 a little bit early. And LZ in the chase matches line, matching angle, has great proximity with an amazing transition that puts him perfectly in the pocket, chasing Frederick Osbo. So we're going to back up here a little bit now. What's impressive here is we see Adam does have his error there. Transition and gets right into the pocket. That is good placement. That is impressive. See it in real time. Gets right into the pocket. Going into outside zone 2. Said he does an amazing job matching the pocket perfectly in the pocket and chases Osbo through outside zone 2. So as we progressively go through outside zone 2, Adam does a really good job to stay in the pocket right where we want him to be. Going into the inner clip. Now going into the inner clip, Frederick Osbo does a really good job of leaving the pocket open, but is just on the line of the inner clip box, too far on the inside. LZ matches line, matches angle, and has good proximity. So he gets just on the line on the inside. You can see we want it to be back. We want this wheel to be in the center of that box. Not a bad thing, but definitely something that we notated. It is an error. And, you know, LZ doing a good job in the chase there. Going into outside zone 3. Frederick Osbo gets into outside zone 3, but is a little shallow in the zone in the beginning and then progressively gets to the midline of outside zone 3. LZ matches the line, matches angle, and has good proximity. Good transition, gets right in there. You can see Osbo just a little bit on the inside, progressively gets to the midline there where we want him to be. Well, mid to deep line there. And Adam doing a good job getting right into the pocket. Boom. Beautiful. All right. Now, amazing there. You can see a really good job. You can see a better angle there. You can see where Adam drops that tire. So that is definitely an area that we pay close attention to there. We can see Heavy drops the tire there. Transition does a really good job getting into the pocket. You're going to see that transition is a key point you're going to see when we see the second half of this battle. Why it's such a key point. And I think it was the thing that kind of broke the straws back on this one. Goes into outside zone 3. Adam does a good job. You can see Frederick a little shallow in the line and progressively gets deeper into the zone. Now they're going to turn the battle around. We're going to see Adam in the lead, and we're going to pay close attention to what happens on the initiation. All right, going into outside zone 1. See, Adam does a really good job, gets onto the wall, just barely scrapes. You can see Osbo goes off track, heavy on the inside line. Adam right where he needs to be. He is making some adjustments, but because the chase driver is closed, doesn't really play an issue. You can see Adam's a little bit on the outside of that. Transition comes through. Adam in the zone, all the way through. Great. Now, all right, now here's the replay. Now, LZ comes in, enters in outside zone 1 as deep as possible with crazy angle and scrapes the wall. All right. We do have a decel by LZ approaching the end of outside zone 1 though. All right. Now, how do we know that? You can see the decel lights or the momentum lights come on at the end of outside zone 1. Now, I know some people that are on top of this are going to be like, yo, he hit his decel lights. Like, what the hell? That's not the key point. We have to see what happens in the chase and this is why I say I want to play close attention to this, because I feel like it should be discussed. But like, it could have went south if Osbo's positioning was a little bit different. So like I said, LZ enters outside zone 1 as deep as possible, crazy angle, scrapes the wall, but we do have a decel by LZ approaching the end of outside zone 1. Osbo attempts to follow LZ's entry, but ends up overcooking it a bit and goes 2 tires off. Although the lead did have a decel, I don't feel like it had an effect on the chase due to the fact that the chase already miscalculated his entry and was going 2 tires off and went 2 tires off there. Just like LZ, he ended up going 1 tire off, but it threw off his line completely. But we do see that after that happened, the transition is where everything changes. The transition, Adam does a really good job of transitioning, and then we're going to see what Osbo ends up doing here. Now, based off of what I just said in outside zone 1, you can see LZ gets right on the wall, have a little bit of scraping there, come through. You can see he's out, way out there. LZ does have a decel there. He's playing catch up at this point. And again, I'm going to speed it up in real time, because if you just pause it right there, the interpretation could be taken many ways, and I don't want to do that. I just want to show clarity. Now, why am I saying could have this been bad? Because if Osbo would have been in the pocket, right? If Osbo would have been better in the pocket, closer on the inside, not as deep, he tried to follow that same crazy line that Adam did from outside. And this is just me giving you a judge's perspective of what I'm seeing here. Adam takes that really crazy line going into outside zone 1. Osbo's probably thinking that LZ's going to do this, follows him in there like a bat out of hell. goes way too deep, sauced him up really bad. It miscalculates. He's like, oh, I'm behind the 8-ball now. Adam is probably just amazed that he was even able to do this, right? And scrape the wall and not like crash his shit. Comes out, has a little bit of a decel. Had Osbo been a little bit closer and out into the pocket, and this would have played a role, that whole entry that Adam did would have been his downfall, right? I mean, it's just speculation. But I'm just saying, from me looking at this, I was like, man, if he only would have been a little bit more on the inside and calculated this entry right, this could have went totally different. But that's not how it went. The way it went was he miscalculated, overcooked it, just like Adam did. He does have this decel here, but the only thing he's doing here is actually slowing down so he can actually catch up. Obviously, Osbo already miscalculated, so he's trying to see what he can do. So Osbo's in the smoke line. He probably don't know where he's at. And the only reason I say that, because going into outside zone 2, LZ gets into the zone deep at first and takes the midline of the zone, but stays in the zone consistently till the end. Osbo, due to dropping 2 tires off in outside zone 1, gets set up incorrectly for the transition, which forces him on the inside halfway through outside zone 2 before getting decent proximity. You can see here, transition through. This is massive. Look at the heavy on the inside. You're like 3/4 all the way on the inside here. And this was all due to the miscalculation, which is why I'm saying he probably was in the smoke line, didn't know where he was at, did the miscalculation, throttles up, realizes he's way on the inside, and he's going to have to start coming back. But this is a huge deficit. Adam, midline, saucing, on throttle, going. Osbo taking that diagonal line to now close proximity, chopping the line hard. We're halfway through. Osbo's slowly starting to get there. He's trying to get back into the pocket. Now we're at the end. Osbo's like kind of back into the picture, kind of. All right. Now going into the inner clip, LZ does a good job of leaving the pocket open on the approach, but gets into the inner clip box, but barely. So he's there, and he does it better in comparison to Osbo, in my opinion. So we come back a little bit. You can see right there. I like it to be a little bit more in, but I feel in comparison he's better and he's closer to the mark than Osbo is in when they were approaching the inner clip. Now Osbo does a great job of matching line, matching angle, and has good proximity. Going into outside zone 3, Adam gets into outside zone and consistently takes a midline through the entire zone. Osbo has a slight miscalculation on the transition, which puts him on a little on the inside and not quite able to regain proximity. So you can see here, I'm going to back up a little bit. Miscalculation here. See, LZ goes for the transition. Osbo goes for the transition behind. You can see he's already heavy on the right side. Rotates, is going to put him on the inside. You can see he's trying to work his way back. Adam's already lined up. He's lined up in outside zone 3. Again, takes the midline. Osbo, miscalculation comes through, and then he takes off. Gets in the zone, fires off. Not quite able to get back into the picture there. Not really matching. Kind of matching the line. Not really matching the angle. Proximity is not really there. And we end. Now, in outside zone 1, I ended up giving the advantage to LZ. Outside zone 2, ended up giving the advantage to LZ. Inner clip 1 to LZ, and outside zone 3, LZ. It was a crazy battle, for sure. But like I said, like that the entry is what we're all talking about. But you know, the way I'm looking at it is, man, this could have went crazy the other way. We can see it here again. It is just wow, that what could happen here. You know, you come through. And it's just, man, it's, had he been in there, it could have changed the whole rhythm. You can see here, the transition comes through. It's just compound. And we've said it many times, like sometimes you get the entry wrong, it throws everything off. You can see that entry, overcooked it, set up his rhythm completely wrong. His positioning was wrong. The transition was wrong. Going into outside zone 2. And then at this point, he's playing catch up. Adam is just like, yeah, no way, bro. So as much as I like to say, or, you know, we're saying that, like, oh, the entry, yeah, the entry was good. But you can see there that, especially here, you can see in this from this point of view, man, like, had Osbo, like, not, man, just, you know, I guess you can say he got phased on the entry, you know what I mean? But, like, Osbo just is, you know, he's clutch. He's someone who's always there, and, you know, it just goes to show you that if you can catch someone off guard and you can catch them off rhythm, and, you know, you definitely have a chance here. And Osbo was driving good the entire weekend through practice and everything. He's always a heavy contender, not someone I think anybody wants to line up with. Anytime I see Osbo and James, I'm just like, great, here we go. Yeah, but it was an amazing battle. And I know we all talked about it because we saw the entry. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The entry was amazing. It was awesome. But I just want to kind of give you guys a little bit of feedback there on, like, hey, that entry was cool and it was great. But, like, had there been a couple of things different, it could have went a different way. And again, it comes on to us as the judges that we have to come here, look at everything, see who's going to end up getting the win. Adam ends up getting the win here because, you know, he did a good job, was able to throw him off rhythm. Osbo decided to dance with the devil, and, you know, we saw what happened there. But all the judges saw it that way, and we have to pass judgment on what we saw there. And, you know, some people like to say it was clean and cut. I could definitely see that there was errors on both sides. But at the end of the day, and Adam ended up getting the win here. So the entry was good, but you know, I just wanted to kind of review it so you guys can see that it could go a different way at any moment, and that's what's so great about this sport. So those are the 3 battles right there. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown on these episodes, and we are going to see you guys next time in St. Louis. 3 new battles. We have Pro Spec and Pro again, so we will see you then for the breakdown, and I will